Hey, what's going on, guys? Welcome back to the channel. In today's video, we're going to be talking about the thing that everybody wants: to become a Yu-Gi-Oh champion. Now, obviously, I'm just kidding, guys. What we're going to be talking about in this video here today is generating passive income. And it doesn't matter if you start with $1,000, $100, $10,000, or $100,000. The principles are all the same. And the one thing that you want to make sure you don't do is you don't want to go down a dark hole when it comes to the way that you're going to generate passive income. And I swear I'm done with the Yu-Gi-Oh puns now, and let's get right into the video. All right, now that all my Yu-Gi-Oh jokes are out, what we're going to be focusing on is generating passive income. And I just want to make sure that I'm setting expectations here. You guys, you can't expect to jump in with just $1,000, make a few good decisions and start generating, tens of thousands of dollars. It takes a long time to build up. $1,000 is a really good point to start, but if you don't consistently add to that $1,000 or make wise investment decisions or choices, it's going to be super hard to build upon. So you just want to make sure that you have this expectation as we move forward. Now, in this video, I'm going to be covering 5 different methods of using that $1,000 to start generating passive income. The stock market is closed today, so I'm taking a step aside and looking more at that passive income route. And so that's what we're going to be talking about. And the first method, and something that I've been trying to build over the past, 2.5 years, is dividend investing. Now, I love dividend investing. Personally, this is one of my absolute favorite methods. But if you don't really know much about dividend investing, what you can think about for dividend investing is if you invest in stocks that do offer dividend payments, these companies are essentially paying you a portion of the profit that they're able to earn. Now, there's a lot of really solid dividend investments that you can make, but there's also some sketchy ones that try and entice investors to invest in them by offering really high dividends, and basically they aren't sustainable, and that's what's known as a dividend trap. So when looking for dividend investments, you want to make sure that you're looking at the financial statements, the balance sheets, all these different things taken into account. Look at the dividend history on these companies. I tend to look at the past at least 10, 20 years and seeing if they're increasing their dividend payments, the consistency, as well as the stock price itself. So one, for example, that I really like is Johnson & Johnson. And if you don't know much about Johnson & Johnson, well, essentially they offer a 2.39% dividend yield right now. And if you look back at their history, in 2020, you can see that they paid $4 per share that you owned in Johnson & Johnson. So if you have $1,000 to be invested, a year ago from today, the stock price on Johnson & Johnson was around $148. So that $1,000 investment could get you somewhere around 6.75 shares of Johnson & Johnson. So you look at that and you think, all right, well, how much is that going to pay me in dividends? What is this passively? Now, if you look at Johnson & Johnson, you look at how many shares you own. Because you own 6.75, you multiply it by the $4 you get per dividend, and you get around $30 in completely passive income. All you've done is put your money into the market into something like Johnson & Johnson, and you're getting $30 out of it, right? But on top of that, what's really great about dividend investing is a lot of the companies are also going to grow in terms of their overall share price. So if you look at Johnson & Johnson a year ago, again, the price was around $148. But if you look at it today, it's around $166.75. So that's nearly an 11% gain from this stock, or $16.28 extra. So if you look at that over the course of a year, you've made $151.54 in completely passive income. So that's one of my absolute favorite methods. One thing that you want to note is that as you are investing in dividend companies and you're being paid dividends, dividends are actually taxed as ordinary income, which means essentially it's taxed just like any other income that you are generating. So if you are starting to make more and more and more money, you're taxed at a higher tax bracket, and that actually, increases the taxes that you're paying from these dividend investments as well. So one of the best things you can do to combat this is add dividend investments to something like a Roth IRA or a 401k that you might have, because these are, tax benefit accounts that you can really take advantage of. Now, this is contrary to investing in, growth companies that may not offer dividend payment. And because they don't do that, if you hold hold these companies for over a year, you're going to pay significantly less in taxes than you would off of dividend investments. But why I love dividend investing is because it's, relatively stable. You can predict how much money you're going to be getting. And, in the past, it's done really well for me and my portfolio. So that's one of my favorite methods right there. Now, the next form of investing that I want to talk about with that $1,000 is something called index fund investing. And if you have no idea what an index fund is, essentially it acts as a collection of stocks that you're going to own. So instead of looking at the entire stock market and you wanted to buy a share of every single stock out there, one, this is going to take an extensive amount of money that you don't have because there's so many stocks to buy out there. And two, it's going to be really time consuming to see what companies are actually worth it to buy. Well, what you can actually do is get something like an index fund that traces the entire stock market, so it mitigates the research that you have to do and maximizes your return. What we see from index fund investing is you can buy into a fund like VTI, which tracks the total stock market index, and it pays around a 1.66% dividend as well. So again, you're going to be getting a dividend payment from VTI, and you're going to be getting any of the returns that it makes just for, growing over time in its own portfolio as well. So as the stocks do well, the overall index is going to increase as well. And if you look at something like a lot of the different index funds, especially the market tracing ones, what you see generally on the stock market is anywhere between a 6 to 10% return annually off of the, overall market. And it's really, really great because on top of that, again, you're getting these dividend payments that are coming in. And as you get all of these payments, right, as I talked about the last example, even with Johnson & Johnson, where I made an extra, $50 in the year, I take that $50 and I reinvest it back into the same either companies, the index funds that I'm investing in, or wherever I see value, because as you do that, it does something which is called compound growth. And basically, as you get more money paid back to you, as you reinvest it, it just continues to grow and grow and grow. And if you look at wise investors like Warren Buffett, for example, he's put out books on growth through the snowball effect. That's what they call it, from the compound growth. And that's one of the main reasons why I really love this method. And as you continue investing, like not only with that $1,000 that you're looking to start with, but as you continue adding more and more, it takes a long time to build up. But once you start getting to these bigger values, it compounds so quick and you're able to capitalize on making so much money that you question like, hey, if I just started a little bit earlier, sometimes when you get up in these higher values, a year can be the difference of hundreds of thousands, and in some cases, millions of dollars that you missed out on just by waiting to start investing. And let's say you are investing in an index fund and you wanted primarily to have a dividend focus. Well, that's great because there's not only total stock market tracing index funds, there's funds for pretty much everything out there. And dividend investing, if you wanted to focus on one that pays a higher dividend yield, you can do just that. So just keep in mind, there's funds pretty much for everybody. And a lot of times these funds will perform better than hedge funds or people who are, have this as a profession, is picking stocks and helping people invest. A lot of times index funds are going to outperform those people. So it's really a great option. Now, one of the golden tickets to generating passive income, and you'll see it pretty much and hear it from every other angle, is real estate investing. And it's very hard if you don't have a lot of money, you only have $1,000, you're like, well, how the heck do I get into real estate investing? Well, you can invest in stuff called REITs, which essentially is a real estate investment trust. And how these work is essentially it pools together a lot of different investors. So you might invest in this, I might invest in this, family members, friends, whoever, they all invest in one, real estate investment trust. The money is pooled together, and then the owners will go out and buy properties and run them and pay back their shareholders based on the profit that they're able to make. And what's cool about real estate investment trusts is that most of them are required to pay 90% or more back in dividends to the shareholders. So it's a really interesting tactic. Again, it's taxed like ordinary income. So you want to be careful on where you're investing in these, what accounts you're using. Obviously, the Roth IRA, the IRAs of the world, the 401ks, again, are the best option in terms of this. But what's really great is, if you look at these, there's a lot of different real estate investment companies that have such great portfolios. One of my personal favorites is Realty Income, which pays you monthly dividends. And if you look at it, it has over 6,500 different properties. And the portfolio occupancy rate is over 98%. So it's very solid. You can count on a lot of the, long-term long-term leases that they have set out there. It invests in really, really solid companies that, you know, need physical locations. So a company like Realty Income is really great. They're established well, and Realty Income is quite literally known as the monthly dividend paying company. So that's another reason why I like them as well. And they operate in 51 different industries. They're very diversified. You want to be careful when you're looking at different real estate investment trusts because, for example, there's a lot of different trusts set up under different operating, you know, industries. So, for example, right now, if you're looking at investing in movie theaters, who knows if that's a good investment because of the pandemic and everything going on. There was that huge bubble with AMC and everything going on, but really, like, where is the movie theater industry going to be 5-10 years from now? It's hard to say. I personally love it. I hope it stays around, but just make sure that you're doing your own research, you're doing your own due diligence. Again, I am not a financial advisor, guys. You have to make your own investment decisions. These are just the ones that I have personally done and what I've seen the most success from in my own portfolio. Now, let's say you are weary. You're like, I don't really want to invest in the stock market. I'm not comfortable with it. I don't really know what I'm getting myself into. Well, I urge you to really just do some research into investing. But if you are genuinely uncomfortable, you don't want to do it, you're nervous about it, well, one of the more stable ways of investing that $1,000 would be to go into something like bonds. And if you don't know how bonds work, essentially you get companies, you get states or government that give you a chance to invest in them. And when you invest in something like the government, it's really well backed. You're pretty much guaranteed to get a return on your money. If they're not paying you back, like, we have a deep systemic issue that is happening that we need to figure out, and everyone's pretty much screwed. But that's particular with government. Now, when you look at businesses, it's a little bit more risky, so you should get a little bit higher of a return if you start doing, you know, business bonds as well. So, and that kind of keys into investing in the stock market as well. There's higher risk when you're investing in the stock market, but again, there's higher reward. When you're looking at bonds, you don't actually set the terms of the bond. That's what the actual company, the organization, the government does, and they look at a maturity date. So basically, they look at a time that they need to pay you back. And this could be anywhere from, you know, months to years to decades and longer, you know. So you want to make sure that you understand what you're getting yourself into when you're investing in bonds. Yes, it's really stable, but you could probably make more money in other areas a little bit easier. But again, if that's your route, if you want to be really safe, you could invest in bonds. And if I were to start investing more into bonds, which I don't currently do, as I'm a young investor, I can take the opportunity to have more risk in my portfolio. I don't need to focus on bonds quite yet. But what I would do would invest in something like a fund for bonds. So BND is Vanguard's bond fund. And when you look at them, what I like about it is it's a little bit more liquid. So if you need to get your money, you could sell the bonds a little bit easier instead of waiting for that maturity date. And that's just kind of the main benefit of it right there. All right, so looking back at those 4 forms of investing, you got dividend investing, index fund investing, real estate investing, and bond investing. And looking at these, you should be able to get around a, 6 to 10% return fairly easily from those methods, but let me continue on. Now, one of the absolute best ways that I think that anybody could use $1,000, if you got a little bit of time on your hands, is to really look for different ways to generate, side hustle income that can be passive in the future. So for me, and a lot of other people, YouTube is one of the absolute best. And I can't stress it enough. Even if you're nervous to get up there in front of the camera, go check out some of my first videos. They were awful. I mean, absolutely horrible. And honestly, like, sometimes I'm embarrassed to look back at them, but I just think it's all part of the process and developing. So with that $1,000, you can get a ridiculous return. When I first started, I probably invested around $1,200 into my YouTube channel and put more in over time. You get yourself a nice camera, you get yourself some audio equipment, you're all in maybe, $600, $700, $800. You got a few $100s left over if you really want to invest it. But I've seen such great returns on my YouTube channel, right? And I've seen it in other people as well, where you're making $100 a day pretty passively, and that's on the low end, right? So every single day, from the past month, I was making over $100, $200, $300 some days, $400. It gets really, really crazy. And if you're able to put in the legwork up front, I'm not gonna lie, this is some of the hardest work that I've ever done. This is what I put the most effort in. Oftentimes I'm working till I wake up, I work my 9 to 5, and then I'm not going to bed till 1, 2 in the morning because I'm editing, getting ready to put content out there. But if you are fully consistent and you put your time, your effort, you're publishing videos, you know, 3 videos every week, you're consistent with it for a few years. I mean, it took me 2.5 years to grow this channel. I think that is the absolute best return. And the best part is that I put a lot of this effort in creating the videos, but a lot of the videos that generate revenue from me were ones that I created either, you know, a few months ago, or even in some cases, I'm making money from videos that were published a year ago. And it just all will turn into passive income as you do it more and more. So as I'm putting out this video, right, I'm gonna get money from this video now because this is one of my newer ones. A lot of people will watch the newer videos and then they'll go back, they'll watch some of the older ones, or even if this one's just sitting on YouTube a while, it's likely to continue getting views in the future, and that just generates more revenue. So honestly, if I were to do it all over again, I had $1,000, I'm looking to get started. There's so many different niches on the YouTube market, and there are so many different ways that you can start generating income in different ways. So if you're able to put in a little bit more effort, a little bit less passive, right, then you can have such a great reward from it. And again, that's if you monetize it properly. So YouTube will pay, you know, a pretty significant portion from ad revenue, but if you also have affiliate links coming in and different ways to generate revenue, it is by far the absolute best method in my opinion. And anyways, guys, that is pretty much all I have for you in this video here today. If you have any questions, leave them in the comment section down below. If you took anything away, hit that like button. I'd really appreciate it. Thank you so much for checking out this video.